Gurukul lecture. In continuation with the series on sociology of work, in today's lecture we are going to talk about dimension of work, and a very important dimension of work, that is alienation. And we kind of in this section try to focus most on the work of Erik Erikson on work and alienation. Now, Erik Erikson is kind of a very recent theorist, 21st century theorist, who will kind of do a review of the work of Karl Marx and other thinkers, and then try to understand alienation at two levels. One, the conditions of workplace that produces alienation, and number two, how kind of individual experience themselves in terms of feeling satisfied or level of dissatisfaction. So, when we look into alienation, the focus here or the objective in this lecture is to concentrate more in the modern industrial, say post-industrial society, where much of the industries which are kind of, we talk about computers, automation. So, try to understand the relation between industry, automation and alienation. Now, going back to Karl Marx, who is kind of considered as one of the most important scholars, social scientists, to have given us this concept of alienation, and we know that his focus was more to understand capitalism. So, industrialization kind of led to a division of labor, and this work becomes more fragmented, and all these theories of Taylorism, scientific management tells us that work kind of gets in terms of becoming very streamlined, assembly line production starts taking place. And because of automation, there was kind of de-skilling. Some workers were only kind of doing a part of the work. So, they were not able to use all the skills that they had, and they themselves became like commodity. Now, in contrary to Karl Marx, Robert Blohner, he kind of argues that division of labor is less problematic, because the idea was that kind of division of labor, the complex division of labor, where there is the work is divided according to the skill or according to the task that is performed, especially in the automated industry. It could be kind of free individual, give them more space for leisure, give them more time to kind of engage in more leisurely activity, and therefore it could reduce alienation. But the question arises is that does the division of labor or does the assembly line production actually reduce alienation? So, to go by Robert Blohner's theory, he says that the modern industry has with automated technology have less level of alienation. It is believed to reduce boredom, that is because work is all kind of automated, everything you just put into the computers and technology is taking care of it. So, individuals are kind of only switching on some buttons or pressing some key, and the work is being done. So, the assumption was it would kind of free the individual from the physical labor and give them more work. So, the problem here is that to do this work in an automated technological setup, one requires more skill, one requires more kind of attention, that the eyes have to kind of focus, reflective, you have to be alert, you have to kind of be active. So, that will again reduce alienation, because it will have a psychological effect, and you will kind of focus on the work, not kind of get distracted, and boring or kind of routinization would only come because if there is some gap and there is no work to do, and therefore alienation, division of labor was believed to kind of reduce alienation. Now, in contrast to Blohner, Karl Erikson would say that industry, service sector especially where there is more of automation and technology, the level of alienation has increased, and therefore he kind of starts with a review or tries to understand relevance of Karl Marx in understanding modern automated industry. So, when we look into Karl Marx theory, we know it was a note on capitalism, and he still kind of sees evolution from craft workshop where the artisans are involved in creation. So, we know it was a dialectical materialist theory of history, evolutionary, and therefore say in a pre-capitalist society the craftsmen, they had control over the craft, they could kind of be innovative and creative. And then in the industrial society, from craftsman it shifts to a factory worker, and in the factory worker Marx is looking specifically to the assembly line workers. So they cannot have the same amount of freedom, they cannot be creative. So the comparison between the craftsman and the factory worker, Marx concept of alienation comes in. And therefore, when we look into Marx theory, craftsman was positive, that because they had some amount of freedom and creativity, they could enjoy life and work. But the life of workers was depicted by Marx on the negative side. That is, the workers were in misery, they were kind of just surviving with their basic needs of food and clothing, and the conditions in workers was very bad. They were exploited, they were not paid their exact wage, there was appropriation of the surplus value. So these is how Marx fits in. Now when we compare Erikson with and Karl Marx, Erikson, according to Erikson, Marx's image of the past, that is the pre-capitalist society of a craftsman, and that of the present, that is industrial assembly line workers, were alike. You could not kind of put them on the same plane to compare the two, and therefore it becomes a kind of a limited concept to understand only a particular conditions which leads to exploitation. So if the workers are not working in assembly line, if there is no amount of appropriation of surplus value, does this mean that there is no alienation? And therefore it kind of needs to be kind of have a more detailed analysis across sectors, across the level of work, and try to understand if there is any level of alienation. And what is found is that there is an alienation at all levels. It is not just restricted to the assembly line workers, but it could be found even at the middle level and a higher level, where kind of the focus is that there's too much under control. You may be at a very high position, but then you are under surveillance. You have to follow orders, you have to follow the instructions of someone. Then it kind of also leads to some amount of alienation. So Kai Erikson gives us a structural understanding of alienation, and he spells out the problem of how to combine structural understanding of alienation with objective measures of the impact. So structures in the sense that you need to look into what are the working conditions. Is the workers being provided all the conditions which is required? And then second would be kind of understand it objectively, because if we kind of just go by the conditions, then we'll see that within the workplace there will be many workers who will, because of the fear of supervisor or the management, will say that yes, they are satisfied. Yet when you go outside the workplace, there will be many who would have been provided, but still they will be grumbling that we need better. Or so it's a kind of a subjective way to understand conditions. It could vary from worker to worker. So what is important is to understand the subjective inequalities and with the experience of the experience of alienation. So Erikson pointed out that many workers who are objectively powerless, that is they are kind of lower at the lower level and leads fragmented lives, are unaware of being alienated and even declare themselves satisfied with lot of work. That is that they are not even aware of what their co-workers are facing. They are just working in their own cabins, in their own fragmented space. So there is no interaction among the co-workers. So until and unless you kind of interact with others, you kind of discuss it out, your own experience of it would be incomplete. So Kai Erikson uses 3 evaluative criteria to understand alienation. Number 1 is loss in meaning in work, either in feeling of subordination to machine, that you are always being instructed by the machine what you are supposed to do, or mechanical process. There could be a dictate, that is your manager or your supervisors or people who are above you are always kind of dictating the terms and condition under which you are going to work. And then it could also be in terms of the speed. Many a time we are working under so much of speed that we need to kind of complete the task by set deadline, by set time, and that adds on the level of pressure in terms of completing deadlines. Number 2, alienation involves the effect of competition. So we are always trying to do better than the other. We are always trying to kind of get the best. So there's such a level of competition that we kind of forget about our own human feelings. We kind of lose touch with the humanity, and therefore we are always in terms of kind of reaching the targets first and the best. The third level of alienation is separation of individual from the own nature as member of human species. This is very close to what Karl Marx says. Karl Marx says that the workers kind of get alienated from the human species, and that is the sense of creativity, the sense of the sense of innovation, and we see it all around. There is so much of issues of people, whether it be kind of in the movie Bollywood, or it could be in the books, this novels. There's so much of copying, there's so much of plagiarism all around, that it kind of sends across a message that there is some amount of decline in the level of innovation or effectivity. So if we were to explain this alienation according to Kai Erikson's three criteria, we see that one level of alienation is to the product, that we kind of are part of the production process, but we cannot be owners of it, or we cannot be kind of considered as the creator. The other is relation to others, to our co-workers, to our community. So we kind of get again alienated. And relations to ourself, we kind of start negating our own body, we kind of start negating our own understanding, and we kind of become so oriented towards material achievement that we forget our own identity. So that help us to understand alienation. Now when we have understood the structural understanding of alienation, what we need to understand is that is there an increase in alienation in the, say, industrialized society or capitalist society, and therefore we need to understand what are the factors that have led to increase in alienation. The number one, which is again a Marxian theory, is the increased ownership of private property, and we know that every round we are kind of engaged in or kind of ownership has become so privatized, it does not belong to a group or to the community, and that is why there is so much of competition over ownership of these means of production, and only those who can have a kind of a say, or those who have the capital or the purchasing power, can only be part of it, whereas the others who have kind of no purchasing power are left outside the process. The second is obviously development of complex division of labor. Now what Marx and even Durkheim talks about the fact that in industrial society the division of labor has become more complex. That is, Durkheim uses the concept of organic solidarity, that the work is kind of more fragmented, it is more skill based, there is increase in specialization, and the workers have kind of very less role to play. They are only able to apply a fraction of their skill. So we kind of use also the concept of de-skilling. They are not able to use all the skills that they have kind of used, and not able to develop any attachment with the product. So just to give a very simple example is that today we see so much of computer operator, data operators. Now the qualification for the data operator would be a course in computers. Now once the individual kind of gets into a job of data operators, he is not using any knowledge or any kind of skills that he has learned, but only kind of entering data through the feeding in certain numbers and data into the computer. So there is a kind of work which is kind of fragmented and detached. Then the third is kind of understanding that human beings becomes like commodity. You yourself are a product that has to be sold in the market. So you have a value attached to it, and the value depends on your skills that you can use and the skills that can be used to achieve efficiency, to achieve productivity. So the product for sale in market is for profit, and the kind of loss of experience, it doesn't have any subjective meaning. It is only kind of objectively materialistic, oriented towards a market profit. Now when we look into alienation in modern workplace, you see Kai Erikson says that they are structures of sensitive zones, that these are areas or these are places where the level of alienation would be comparatively higher than what would be found in the others, and he kind of tells us 4 sensitive zone. Number 1, where workers are separate from the product and means of production. So, we know that they are just kind of doing a part of the work, a fragment of the work in the assembly line production. So, that is one place where they kind of cannot find themselves attached to the product and process. Number 2, where workers lack clarity of their role and pattern of work. And this could be because there are number of workers, say, so they really don't know what are they supposed to do and how are they supposed to do. They are just given a target and you have to meet it. For instance, if you go to the call centers, all the workers there, and there is a huge number of them who are given them the targets, and they just have to answer calls and kind of give solution as has been trained to them. They have been given certain instructions, certain guidelines which they have to follow. And there is no kind of pattern. It is not that you have to kind of do it in a systematic manner. You are just given a target, you have to do receive this many calls and give, so that kind of becomes alienating work. Third is where work is controlled by external sources or conditions. So, you are working in say production process which is kind of outsourced. So, you kind of many a time you start the production process, but then the instructions comes from outside that this is not the way you need to kind of. So, the entire process kind of restarts again. So, this can create a level of dissatisfaction. Fourth is where work is fragmented according to skills, and this is if you are only required to do skilled work, then the number of people who are really skilled and they get the work according to the qualification or skill that they have done is kind of again very minimal, and therefore, it could again be very alienating. Now, when we look into computers and we are talking about automation and technology and information society, we talked about the computer world, information based society. So, can we kind of consider it as leading to alienation, or can computers lead to alienate people? And then when we kind of try to understand that the entire invention of computer was to store information, and storing information in a kind of an organized manner that could help if individual in their work and the others. But then the computer was created and it kind of became a very big invention and a boom to the working sector. But slowly and slowly what we kind of see is that computer starts controlling human action. It is not that human is going to control computer, it becomes the other way around. And how that happens when we look into the man-machine relations, that is what kind of control, who controls whom, we see man makes machine and they kind of inventions and kind of feeds in instruction that this is the way you want to work. But then slowly and slowly, gradually, it becomes the other way around. So, machine starts controlling men and activities are performed in according to the machine. So, we kind of know what way it is kind of, and so many times we have seen that we are working on the computers and we do not have a solution, and we generally say that there is a technical glitch. So, only people who with technical skills can come and provide a solution to this. So, machine starts working on their own because instructions have they feeded, it starts making decisions, it starts controlling man, and therefore, it can be a relation which gets inverted. Then human beings are only serving according to the instructions of computer. So, we kind of again know that for instance, we have heard a lot during the online pandemic when online courses were being taught, that a number of senior teachers who were not able to kind of work with the computers and say these technologies of video conferencing and the others, they were given certain instructions, that do this. If you kind of open any help page on the computer, it tells you go to this page, open this, do this, but that is the instruction that the computer is telling you to follow. You yourself are not putting in any creativity or innovation, because if you do, maybe probably the computer will hang or there will be some kind of technical problem. So, this is what Braverman, Harry Braverman calls as lobotomized, that is the human body is observed by the machine. We kind of lose control and we kind of become a slave almost of the machine. So it is kind of very close to what Marx was also saying, that as people are kind of workers are kind of producing, they become a cog in the machine. And here we kind of see that there is kind of completely total control of the computer over human beings. So when we look into the instruments of control, because we know that when we talk about service sector or when we talk about information society, large number of industries, workplace are kind of technology based. Rather, nowadays we see the technology, there would be no office or there would be no workplace where we don't find a computer. It's found of everywhere. So the two sorts of control would be computers and automation. So scientific management, this is the entire industrialization period, Taylorism and Fordism, scientific management theories brought in the machine. And this machine was brought in to increase efficiency, to increase productivity. So it kind of controlled muscle activity. It restricted the muscle activity. So for instance, if we were kind of working, the weaver was making it with the hand, you had this power loom. So the weaver could only produce one piece of cloth. The power loom at this would produce say 10 times more than that. So it reduced the muscle physical activity, and then we kind of started using the computers came in, and computer programming started happening, and then we had computers in certain limited areas, say for in the armed forces or in scientific industry, but slowly and slowly it entered every realm of and the kind of it kind of starts controlling the behavior of the operator as well. So automated procedures and computerized process are instruments of control over a human being. Automation allows programming of activities and creates a system of surveillance. So we have all these kind of surveillance. Earlier, when people used to go to the office, they would have to sign on a register. Now we have these machines which will take your fingerprints and kind of note down your attendance. So biometric surveillance, all kind of, you have the CCTV camera installed. So workers are under continuous psychological pressure, are being monitored, surveillance and controlled. So computers can account for all the activities done by the operator. When we kind of do kind of say offline classes, and this would be an interesting example where many a time in big classrooms, students could peep in from the back doors and sit and attend the classes or give attendance for someone else, fake attendance. But now we have a technology called Zoom or Google Meet, which notes down the time in which the students joins. So you are kind of controlled and monitored by the machine. It controls all your activities and everything is monitored. So the level of control we see is not only limited to the assembly line worker. It can kind of be everywhere. It kind of leads to a machine, mechanical, automated, relentless work. Braverman says that the clerical work has become mechanical and routinized because of rules and procedures. Both rules and machine dominates in today's world. So everywhere we know we kind of have machines, computers, other technology that regulates our work. Workers subject to routinized work and managerial supervision are subject to alienation. So if we look into Karl Marx, it was a human being which was supervising. It was the supervisor or the assembly line manager who was controlling. But now it is a machine which is controlling. We have a CCTV camera or we have a biometric machine, and it's kind of controls the work of the worker. Experience of alienation is, so all this while we started about the structures of alienation, where now we try to understand the experience. How do workers working in automated industry experience this sense of alienation? It is important to understand alienation because it has a lot to do with the psychological mind. It has a lot to do with the subjective experience of individual workers. And only then when we study alienation as a psychological experience of workers, would we be able to do a more holistic sociological study, because it is a condition. It is not only kind of created according to the working condition, but it is a state of mind. It's more talking about your spirit, your mind, your body, and the behavior of the worker. So it becomes very important to understand it in terms of the experience. Kai Erikson takes into account both the conditions of work as well as the experience of workers. And in that sense, when he says that now in post-industrial society or the contemporary society, alienation should be an important area of research, And what is required is not to do a quantitative study, because it cannot be in terms of say how many hours is required to work, what is your wage, and all these conditions at work. What is more important is to understand in terms of qualitative study. How do we understand the impact of working conditions on workers? So, it is not a creature of the workplace. It is not only created during the working condition, it could be beyond the working conditions. It is a state of being. It is a state of satisfaction among the workers, and this is again need not draw a dichotomy between the say workplace and the residential. This divide becomes irrelevant, because if a worker is satisfied, he or she will be a satisfied human being at both the places. So, we kind of do away with this dichotomy and look into the level of satisfaction that the worker experience beyond the workplace, and that is why we need to understand the activities outside the workplace also impacts alienation. So, we need to do a more holistic qualitative understanding in terms of the family, in terms of the relation with other people, his kind of behavior outside the work, and that would kind of help us to understand alienation. So, it is a human feeling, it is a state of mind. So, we need to understand both, and that is why today we see this so much of manipulation, there is so much of commercialization, that everybody kind of tends to manipulate, and this is because it is a materialistic society which is dependent on competition. So, every individual or if we look into the customer client relation, it is a manipulation from both the side. The customer would manipulate his or her behavior to ensure that he or she is able to purchase it at a lower cost, whereas the service provider would try to kind of manipulate in order to get a higher profit. So, manipulation is very important, and that is why we have this understanding of studies, some of the very relevant studies done into understand alienation. And here I will only refer to one of this classical study, which is by Hochschild, done in 1983, and this study is on flight attendant. Now, flight attendant or the airline industry is an interesting study, because this commodification of feelings, and alienation kind of becomes very significant. It is not only among the working class. So, we see the airline workers as kind of presenting themselves as very happy. So, you go to the airport, you say everybody with a smile, but what is behind this? Behind there is a sense of alienation. So, there is a kind of labor is kind of a potential difference. So, how you present yourself in order to attract more client or customer is dependent on your manipulation of emotional labor. So, emotional labor becomes very significant, that you are manipulating with your emotion, even though you may be very annoyed with your manager, but when you are in front of the customer you need to smile. So, emotional labor has become a very important concept in sociology of work in contemporary society. It becomes relevant to understand the sectors, because there is so much of service sector, human relation is there, and we are all wanting to have a positive relation, because the service sector is dependent on customer client relation, and the emotional labor is kind of a new form of estrangement or even alienation. So, we will look into this concept of emotional labor in other lecture, but what is important to keep in mind is to understand that Marx becomes the vantage point to understand alienation, but we need to extend it beyond the working class assembly line production and understand the level of experience and structural conditions in other sectors to understand alienation. With this, I come to an end of today's lecture. Thank you.